the shell of a girl that I used to know.
You're a jerk.
I know.
You're a jerk.
I know.
You're a jerk.
I know.
You're a jerk. You're a zombie on the track.
Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now my whole team here. Started from the bottom, now we're here.
Anything you want to do it. Want to change the world. There's nothing to it.
You know who I am. Damn chick, don't play me close if I take your man.
On my own, pretending he's beside me, all alone.
Here in the world, but got plenty of beer. Ain't got no money in my pocket, but I'm already here.
Yeah, yeah, I know that you like me. No way, no way. No, it's not a secret. Hey, yeah, yeah, I want to be your girlfriend. Womanizer, womanizer, you're a womanizer, oh, womanizer, oh, you're a womanizer, baby. You are, you.
Mr. Gradgrind is a businessman, a father of 5, and he only believes in facts. He is described as a very square man, and this suggests he has a rigid personality. Thomas is his eldest son, and Louisa is his favorite daughter. Both of his children are generally rational and not very affectionate.
Mr. Bounderby is a good friend of Mr. Gradgrind, a self-made man who likes to remind people of his bad past. He is a banker and a factory owner, and is known for his wealth and power. Mr. Childish and Mr. Kidderminster are both part of Sleary's circus.
Cecilia Jupe, or Sissy, is the daughter of a clown in Sleary's circus, and she is the opposite of Louisa and Tom. She's very imaginative, and she also goes to school with them.
Miss Sparsit is Bounderby's housekeeper. She has a crooked appearance and was a member of the aristocratic elite.
Stephen Blackpool works for Mr. Bounderby in his factory, and he's married to a drunk woman, and he's also morally strong. And on the right is Stephen's wife, who does nothing of importance.
Rachel is a friend of Stephen's. Like him, she is a working hand. She is seen as pure and honest.
Bitzer goes to school with Louisa, Tom, and Sissy. He bullies Sissy, and is a considerable success of Gradgrind's school/education system. Mr. Coketown is a teacher at Gradgrind's school, and he teaches rationally, and he's obviously not a fan of children. Mrs. Gradgrind, obviously married to the Mr., seemingly unimportant and always ill. The old woman is unknown and asks Stephen about Bounderby. Mr. Harthouse is unknown until book 2. Chapter 1. The one thing needful is facts or statistics. Mr. Gradgrind is described as a very square man, meaning he's very rigid or unchangeable. Mr. Gradgrind has his own teaching system that he makes sure his school and his children follow by. The school is explained as plain, bare, monotonous vault of a schoolroom. Mr. Gradgrind shows up to his school and explains to a teacher named Mr. Coketown that facts are really the only thing that is needed, and that's all he should teach.
This chapter introduces Bitzer and Sissy. Mr. Gradgrind asks for girl number 20. She states her name is Cecilia Jupe and that her father calls her Sissy. Mr. Gradgrind gets upset and tells Sissy not to call herself that, and then asks what her father does for a living. She tells him he works with the horses in the circus, and Mr. Gradgrind is taken aback. Mr. Gradgrind asks Sissy to define what a horse is, and she is thrown into the greatest alarm by his demand. and doesn't answer. Gradgrind then asks Spitzer, the teacher's pet, to define a horse, and he says a horse is quadruped, graminivorous, 40 teeth, etc. Like he rehearsed it. That now shows Mr. Coketown how he shall teach his students from then on.
Chapter 3. Mr. Gradgrind walks home from school and is very pleased with himself, thinking about his life, his children, and his home. He sees two children peering into a hole in the circus tent and goes over to them, probably to scold them and to feel better about his life. He finds out that it's actually two of his own children, Tom and Louisa. Mr. Gradgrind gets very upset by this. Louisa takes the blame and says that she brought Tom to see the circus. When he interrogates her, she replies with saying that she is tired of everything. And so would we. Mr. Gradgrind asks her, what would Mr. Bounderby say?
This chapter introduces us to Mr. Bounderby. He is nicknamed the Bully of Humility because apparently to him no one has been about the struggle the way he has. And he likes to try to make that clear. Mr. Bounderby talks to Mr. Gradgrind about his past life. His mother left him in a ditch and he had to live with his drunken, horrible grandmother. They lived very poorly. He's always telling everyone how he picked himself up and made himself a great wealthy man. Mr. Gradgrind is described as ill and sickly. She mostly complains of headaches. Mr. Gradgrind comes home and tells Mr. Bounderby and his wife about Louisa and Tom. Bounderby and Gradgrind decide it was Sissy's fault because of the imagination she has. They decide to go to her house and tell her father and expel her. Before going, Mr. Bounderby goes to Louisa's room while Tom is in there and asks for a kiss, which she gives to him. After she leaves, Louisa gets very upset and basically tells her brother he can cut a hole in her cheek, and she wouldn't even cry because that's how uncomfortable and upset she feels with and towards Bounderby.
Chapter 5. Bounderby and Gradgrind walk through Coketown to Sissy's house. On the way, they see Sissy being chased by Bitzer, who is bullying her. They are once again shown that they are right to expel her. Not really for a valid reason, but it's fine. They talk to her and find out that she's buying medicine for her father because he told her he had some pain in his joints. She takes them back to the circus lodgings to see her father.
They go to the Pegasus Inn. Sissy sees her father is not home, so she leaves them there to go look for him. Two of the circus performers, Childers and Kidderminster, come in and meet Bounderby and Gradgrind. They both insult each other, Bounderby and Gradgrind saying that circus performing is a job that slackers do, and Childers and Kidderminster fight back, saying that it's actually a very hard and well worth it job. Childers and Kidderminster tell them that Sissy's dad hasn't been doing so well lately at the circus, and that he has left her even though he loved her very much. Sissy comes back and starts crying because she couldn't find her father. Bounderby, in his own horrible way, tries to comfort her. He tells her her father has deserted her and she might as well move on. She continues to cry and Sleary threatens to throw him out of the window, as if the chaper didn't have enough conflict. Gradgrind has a change of heart and decides to not expel her and instead take her into his home. She agrees to go with him.
Chapter 7. Mrs. Sparsit talks highly of her background. Her husband was a Powler and she was a Scatchers. For this reason, Mr. Bounderby loves having her as his housekeeper because she has fallen on hard times, and he takes her because it'll make him look even better. He rants to Mrs. Sparsit about how he thinks Sissy will be a bad influence on Louisa. He talks all about Louisa. Mrs. Sparsit tells him that he is like a second father to Louisa and should be very proud. But he replies with saying that it's Tom who really is like a son to him and will be working at his bank soon. And this can only mean that he thinks of Louisa in another way. Sissy, Louisa, and Mr. Gradgrind show up to Mr. Bounderby's house. Gradgrind asks Sissy again to stay at his house, and she agrees again. She is to take care of Mrs. Gradgrind. She does say, though, that when her father comes home, she will leave the Gradgrinds, which we're all hoping will happen.
Louisa has a short flashback from when she was 9 years old, when she was talking with Tom and started a sentence with "I wonder," and her father yelled at her. Tom complains to his sister that he hates everything about his life. He calls the house a jaundice jail. Tom devises a plan for Bounderby to be nice to him. He knows Bounderby loves Louisa and will probably want to marry her, which in turn will make Bounderby be nice to him. Louisa tells Tom she will think about it and sits in front of the fire. She talks about wondering again, and her mother walks in and basically tells her to shut it because she doesn't want to hear another 3-day lecture from her husband.
Chapter 9. Sissy doesn't fit in at Gradgrind school at all. She answers questions wrong. Really, she's just answering them in a different way or imaginatively, but since Gradgrind only wants facts, this doesn't really work. Sissy cries to Louisa, and Louisa asks her to tell her about her parents. Sissy's mother died when she was just born, and her father left her even though he loved her very much because he wanted her to have a very good education, which really isn't a legitimate way to leave your child.
Stephen's nickname is Hands. Hands is a slang term used by factory workers. Super insulting. Stephen waits for Rachel, also a hand, after work to walk home with her. She described as a beautiful and seen as pure and angelic. By these descriptions and Stephen's actions, we can tell he loves her very much. When Stephen gets home and he finds his alcoholic wife, Stephen asks his wife why she has come back since he pays her to stay away, and she tells him she will never leave him alone, which is kind of creepy.
Chapter 11. Stephen makes a visit to Bounderby's house. Stephen asks Bounderby if there's any way to get rid of his wife since she's an alcoholic mess. Bounderby tells Stephen that he really can't get a divorce. Mrs. Sparsit asks Stephen about Rachel, specifically how many years apart they are. This hints at the fact she doesn't like Bounderby and Louisa and the idea of them getting married, and we totally agree with her. Bounderby tells Stephen he cannot get a divorce because he is poor and only the rich can. There's also laws that will punish him if he lives with Rachel or hurts his wife. Bounderby gets mean with Stephen and tells him that whoever's been putting these things into his head, he shouldn't be friends with anymore, and then he needs to fix himself. Pretty sure it's Bounderby that needs fixing.
When Stephen leaves Bounderby's house, he meets an old woman outside. She asks a question about Bounderby, like how is he and what is he up to. The old woman tells Stephen that she's from the country and she travels once a year to watch Bounderby. Super creepy. Stephen walks with her all the way to his house. When Stephen gets home, he feels sad and lonely and thinks about how he can never be with Rachel.
Chapter 13. Stephen walks in to find Rachel taking care of his wife. Rachel explains to him that his wife has been hurt and cannot die without someone by her side. He tells Rachel she should go home, but she stays, and Stephen falls asleep and has a dream that he's getting married, but actually turns out that he's dying. Stephen wakes up and sees his wife attempting to drink one of the 2 bottles that were on the table when he walked in the door. The one she picks up is the one that Stephen was most afraid of, which is probably a poison or something. Either way, we know it's dangerous. Rachel wakes up and tackles his wife to the floor while Stephen does nothing. Great job, Stephen. He thanks Rachel for saving his wife and thinks.
Tom goes to work at Bounderby's bank. Gradgrind tells Sissy that she really shouldn't be in the school anymore because she isn't able to learn what is being taught, but he does compliment her. Gradgrind becomes a member of Parliament. Tom comes by the house and tells Louisa about meeting between Gradgrind and Bounderby. Tom tells Louisa that she should marry Bounderby for his sake, and she can help him basically get more power and money. Louisa thinks on her decision.
Chapter 15. Louisa and Gradgrind talk, and he tells her that Bounderby wants to marry her. Did I mention that Louisa is barely a woman and Bounderby is middle-aged? Louisa makes her father really nervous by asking him questions he can't answer because he isn't affectionate. Point 1. Louisa. Gradgrind tells Louisa it's not even about love between 2 people, it's whether or not their marriage will last because of their ages. -1. Gradgrind. Gradgrind makes sure she isn't in love with anyone else, and Louisa tells him there's really no way anyone could even ask her to marry them. +1 Gradgrind for asking. Louisa agrees to marry Bounderby. -1 Louisa. Sissy seems very sad at the news of Louisa marrying Bounderby. So in this case, no one wins except for Bounderby.
Bounderby tells Miss Sparsit he is to marry Louisa. She becomes very sarcastic. Bounderby asks Miss Sparsit to be his housekeeper at his bank. There's really nothing called that, but I guess you could say she's his highly respected janitor. She accepts his offer on the account of she doesn't want to be homeless. Bounderby and Louisa have a courtship and then get married. Their honeymoon is a business trip. Real smooth, Bounderby. Way to show your love for your wife. Louisa hugs Tom and he thanks her for sacrificing herself for him. I think we can all agree that Tom is a scum at this point.
Character evolution. Sissy is transforming into a Gradgrind. This is caused by living with them and the govern that Mr. Gradgrind has over her and her happiness. In the future, she will most likely be more disciplined. Louisa is becoming more compassionate. The fact that she asks Sissy about her father and has somewhat of a heart-to-heart with her, and the questions she asks her father about Bounderby's proposal. Gradgrind is becoming more compassionate also. This is caused only by Sissy. He treats her better than he does his own daughter. In the future, this could make him realize his wrongdoings and become a compassionate, possibly understanding person, and hopefully a good father. Tom has become a jerk. This could be caused by the fact Louisa was always taking the blame for everything. He also takes advantage of her. In the future, he could finally get into trouble for using his sister, or Louisa could get into trouble herself.
Sissy's father most likely not coming back. Sissy is staying with the Gradgrinds and not going to school anymore. Miss Sparsit is starting to get kind of weird. Her feelings towards Bounderby and his marriage with Louisa. Louisa and Bounderby are now married, unhappily according to Louisa. Tom is a scum. Gradgrind is sort of becoming compassionate, but he's still a brainwasher. Stephen is sad about Rachel. Stephen's wife is an alcoholic mess. Miss Gradgrind is whiny and uninvolved. The unknown woman is still unknown.